What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading. Today we're going to talk about why the crypto market is at a critical level. This is the kind of content that you enjoy, and be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. So if we look at the total crypto market cap, guys, on the weekly, you can see that it's currently holding support around the Bollinger Band moving average. If the total crypto market cap was to fall below this level in the coming weeks, it wouldn't necessarily be the end, as we've seen, throughout the cycle, that temporarily we can see basically deviations below this key level in the medium term. But that would basically mean that we would be potentially entering a medium-term bear trend here, potentially going into November or December. Of course, that's not my base case, but I do need to point it out in the charts. And again, we can see that last summer we saw temporary deviation below the Bollinger Band moving average on the weekly that lasted for a few months. Then earlier this year, we saw it again, but for a shorter period. So this idea that we could see it happen again here, and let's say for roughly a month, where prices fall below this key level, you get a lot of kind of fear in the markets, and then a continuation higher into the end of the year. That's certainly possible, but again, that's not what I'm expecting personally. But I do need to point that out as a potential scenario. Of course, it's even clearer to see here on Bitcoin. I'll quickly note that as it relates to this mini cycle that I've been tracking, we can clearly see that this mini cycle has been a bearish mini cycle, which sucks. But at the same time, it's easy to forget, guys, that Bitcoin's price is basically back where it was. Well, it's basically chopping in the same range that it has been since July, which is extremely frustrating, but it's not necessarily bearish. But again, if we zoom in here to the 4-hour, you can see that Bitcoin is really at a critical level here, somewhere around 110, 111,000. If it falls below this level, then it probably will fall back down close to the 100,000 level. I think Aaron is watching 102,000 as a potential level to watch there. But the thing that concerns me the most, guys, and I'll actually maybe remove all of these indicators here just to make things clear, and then we throw on, of course, the Bollinger Bands, which again, completely free indicator, super easy to use, and kind of shows you the key levels to watch. As we were looking at, guys, just a few moments ago at the total crypto market cap, Bitcoin has a similar situation here. In my view, Bitcoin needs to, at least keep this $113,000 level by the end of this week to continue being in a bullish uptrend in the medium term here. If it fails to hold that level, then we'll probably get a move to the downside, similarly to what we saw here again in the spring, and of course, similarly to what we saw last summer. What's really interesting, guys, is that you can notice that throughout the cycle, every single time there was a Bollinger Band squeeze, you would almost get like a fake out to the downside, then let's say a month or two of chop or a few months of chop, and then a continuation higher. We saw that happen last summer. We saw it happen in the spring. So it wouldn't be that surprising if we did see, for example, Bitcoin kind of look like it's starting to squeeze to the downside here, falling to around 100,000. Everyone panicking, thinking that it's over. Then after a couple of weeks of chop, getting a continuation higher, let's say sometime in November and into the end of the year. Again, this is not my base case, but I do need to outline this as a potential scenario, because the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin is really on a knife's edge here. Before you panic too much, there's one thing that I've been watching very closely here on the 15-minute chart, which I know is like we're really zooming in here. And I know that, many people already in the comments will probably say, oh, like this is a very clear, like head and shoulders pattern here, and that Bitcoin is going to break down. I'm not so sure, guys. I actually think this could potentially be a double bottom pattern of some kind. And it's a little bit clearer, actually, when you look on the 15-minute chart. You can see this little double bottom pattern here, guys, we got a couple of days ago here on the 14th of October. It's very similar to kind of this double bottom that was on the 11th of October. And then we have this kind of cresting, you could say cresting wave here on the 15th of October, similarly to what we saw also on the 11th. So I guess long story short is it looks like we're potentially completing a bottoming pattern here, where we're basically going to see the inverse of what we saw here on October 10th, which of course there was a big meltdown. And assuming that we're seeing some kind of bottoming structure here, then potentially we could see a melt up in the coming days, which of course that is my base case. That's what I expect. I do expect a rally higher, but again, there's no denying that if we look at Bitcoin, like it's just really clinging to a knife's edge here. And I guess further evidence of the idea that we're about to see a big move to the upside or to the downside is just to look at the Bollinger Band moving average on the hourly. You can see that it's starting to squeeze. Bitcoin is right on that Bollinger Band moving average as I shoot this video, so it really could go either way. If it gets above, it's going to squeeze to the upside. If it stays below, it's probably going to squeeze to the downside. And of course, in case you're wondering for a downside target, again, the exact target to watch there would probably be somewhere around 100, let's say 102 to 105,000, roughly speaking. And this is probably something that is, either going to be hit probably in the next 48 hours, or we'll see a recovery, a blast off higher, probably back to 120,000. And this is all going to happen here in the next 48 hours. So take your your pick. It really does look like it could go either way at this stage, especially with an announcement coming out from Trump later today. No pressure. Anyways, when it comes to Ethereum, I'm still actually very bullish on Ethereum, especially on the longer term here. You guys can see clearly Ethereum is still holding this bull flag pattern here. But of course, when we zoom in more to the daily, you can even still see, like it's Ethereum is still kind of holding on here, but it doesn't need to bounce from this level to get a continuation higher. If it does break down below 4,000, then, we could get a drop, to 3,500, potentially even lower than that. But if it does bounce from this level, then the next stop would be, 4,250. And then after that, probably somewhere around 4,600. So it really depends on what happens in the next couple of days, especially as it relates to these tariffs. You can even see here on this bull flag that I drew that this is a key level here somewhere around 4,000, which makes perfect sense. So yeah, it's going to be really intense, really interesting. And the next 48 hours are basically going to determine, whether Ethereum or Bitcoin squeeze to the upside or to the downside. So, fingers crossed that it's to the upside. And if you guys are looking to trade what could happen in the next 48 hours, then do check out the links in the description, specifically this first link here that says BitGet up to 50,000 USDT deposit bonus. Click on that link. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. You guys will notice that the Coin Bureau does have a partnership with BitGet. And again, you can get up to 50,000 in rewards. Granted, you do certain things, which of course most people can do. But on a personal note, I've mentioned it before and I'll say it again, I do think that BitGet is an awesome exchange. It's an exchange that I've used personally in the past, and I would suggest making an account, seeing if it's right for you. They have spot trading, futures. They also have tokenized stocks. They have on-chain trading, all this type of stuff, everything you could possibly need. And if you if you do have enough trading volume there, you will get these bonuses. Just the one thing to keep in mind, guys, again, nothing against BitGet, nothing against any exchanges. You always want to keep your crypto in your personal wallet. So do not take this as an encouragement to go put all your crypto on BitGet. That is not what I'm suggesting here. I'm just suggesting, to sign up using our link, check it out, see if it's something that works for you. I personally think BitGet is an awesome exchange. So check it out, and hopefully you'll get some of these rewards as well. Anyways, guys, to wrap things up, I want to take a closer look, of course, at Bitcoin dominance. It did get a bounce off the Bollinger Band moving average here on the daily after falling, which of course begs the question of what comes next. Zooming into the 4-hour, you can see that it's starting to squeeze on the 4-hour, which of course suggests that we're either going to get a squeeze higher in Bitcoin dominance or a squeeze lower, and that really does depend on what happens probably in the next 48 hours related to these tariffs and all these things. The one thing that kind of gives me hope in that sense is looking at ETH BTC, because as some of you might know, the largest component of Bitcoin dominance is basically ETH BTC. So if you want to know what Bitcoin dominance is going to do next, then just take a look at ETH BTC, and we can see that it's starting to squeeze, hopefully to the upside here on the 1-hour chart. And of course, that could turn out to be a squeeze lower. ETH BTC is kind of struggling here to get above the Bollinger Band moving average on the 4-hour. And I believe on the daily, it's also fallen slightly below the Bollinger Band moving average on the daily. But I do think that ETH BTC is going to continue breaking out. That is my base case. And of course, if we do get a breakout here, I'll draw this trend line here. If we were to get a breakout somewhere around above somewhere around 0.037, let's say, give or take, on ETH BTC, then that would be a massive move for Ethereum, which would in fact eventually come into other altcoins, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. And last but not least, guys, the other chart, the most important chart to keep in mind, maybe one I should have mentioned at the start of the video, is of course the US dollar. And as we can see, it's really nice. The US dollar has been falling here over the last day or so. I do expect this drawdown in the US dollar to continue. It could catch some support here around the Bollinger Band moving average on the daily, so somewhere around 98.25. But the main thing to watch, guys, and what I'm hoping for is that the US dollar index will fall back down to the Bollinger Band moving average on the weekly and hopefully fall below that level and squeeze to the downside and not to the upside. If the US dollar was to squeeze to the upside here, guys, I mean, it looks like it's about to squeeze, in a big way, and it looks like it's starting to break out to the upside. If this move was to complete, and if we were to see a squeeze to the upside on the US dollar, then basically everything is going to crash, whether it's Bitcoin, stocks, or precious metals or anything. So, if you hold any of those assets, then you really want to pray that the US dollar is going to continue falling here. In the short term, it does look like it's going to continue falling, and hopefully this week will close in the red for the US dollar. Last thing to keep in mind in that sense, guys, is that historically government shutdowns always resulted in the US dollar going lower. So, whether it was during or after, that really varies, but eventually US government shutdowns do result in the US dollar going lower. I don't think that this time is different, which is why I continue to be bullish, even though I'm not going to lie, prices are very much on a knife's edge here, and things are looking pretty tense, pretty hairy. But so long as, hopefully the squeeze, by the time you see this video, the squeeze is to the upside here on Bitcoin on the hourly. And if that's the case, then we probably don't have too much to worry about here in the next 48 hours at least. Anyways, guys, if you did make it this far and you did find that information helpful, maybe you should smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.